guys, it's your girl T, and I'm here for another recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I'm rocking my black Barbie t-shirt, as you guys can see. So let's go ahead and get started. So in the first scene, we see Cynthia and NeNe, and they're going shopping for bikinis because they're getting ready to go out to Mexico to go meet Kenya on this huge trip that she planned for all the couples, even though Kenya's not in a relationship. So as NeNe and Cynthia are shopping and drinking mimosas, Cynthia wants to talk to NeNe about the situation that happened at the Bailey Bowl. And NeNe just stares her down and she cuts her off. And she's like, Marlo Hampton's name will never, ever be spoken in front of me again. And I'm like, damn. And it's like she just checked Cynthia, she mean-mugged her, and she made Cynthia feel this small. I'm like, how do you go off on your friend because she wants to ask you about a legitimate situation? It's like NeNe and Cynthia's relationship is just really, really weird to me. NeNe totally dominates and runs that relationship. Cynthia's more of a quiet, passive person, but it seems like all the people around her are very domineering, which is sad. You know, her sister Mal, very domineering, very angry. NeNe's very domineering and rude. And her husband is just rude as hell and dominates her 24/7. I really wish Cynthia would grow a pair of balls and put NeNe in her place. Even if NeNe didn't want to talk about Marlo, then as a friend, you tell your friend, you know what, I'm not in the mood to speak on this. I really don't want to talk about her. I'm just hurt about the whole situation. Let's just leave it alone. You don't snap on your friend and say that she's not allowed to bring Marlo Hampton's name up. It's like, come on, NeNe, I'm going to need you to get your life and do better. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have the new BFFs, Marlo Hampton and Kenya Crazy Ass Moore. So they're sitting there at Kenya's house and they're talking about the whole situation that went down at the Bailey Bowl. And Marlo's saying that, you know, she didn't understand why NeNe was so upset. She said she just walked up to NeNe and wanted to, you know, to basically cheer her on and say, you know, yeah, we rich, and, you know, talk to her. And she said as soon as she put her hands on NeNe just flung back and was like, you know, get your hands off me, and started going off on her. And so Kenya's like, I just don't understand. Is it because we're friends? I just don't get it. Kenya, bitch, you know damn well why NeNe is mad. You know damn well she's mad because you and her friend Marlo are now friends. So Marlo says that she has to tell Kenya something that she didn't want to tell Kenya, but she feels obligated to tell Kenya. She said a week or so before the Bailey Bowl, NeNe and Cynthia called her on three-way, and NeNe went off on Marlo and was like, you are not to be hanging with Kenya. You're my friend. How dare you fraternize with the enemy? And Marlo was like, NeNe must have me messed up and think that I'm one of her fans. I'm not one of her fans. I'm her friends, and I'm a grown-ass woman, and you're not going to tell me who I can and who I can't hang with. You know, and I understand Marlo's point, but this whole relationship to me seems contrived. It seems like both Marlo and Kenya are using each other. Marlo wants to peach really damn bad. She wants to be in the opening credit going like this next season, and that's why she's hanging so tight to Kenya. Kenya needs a storyline. She has no husband, so why she's a real housewife, I don't know. She has no kids. She has absolutely no storyline. Brandon hasn't even appeared on camera with her since he got his ass whipped by Apollo. So it seems like she's gravitating towards Marlo just to keep with that storyline. But they both come off as shady, and their relationship comes off to me as disingenuous. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, you have Phaedra and Apollo. They're at the house, and Aiden is just the cutest little boy. He's trying to get all these frogs out the pool. And he's like, come on, froggies, jump in there. And he's like, they're not listening to me. They're not responding to me. I don't understand why they're not responding, mommy. And then Phaedra's like, oh yeah, my son, he's so smart. He's so intelligent. He's a wordsmith just like his mother. Okay, Phaedra, yes, we understand that you're a lawyer and a wordsmith and you're good with words. Let's all be honest, Aiden has a bigger vocabulary than Apollo. Apollo just grunts, and he might speak a few words, but nobody knows what the hell Apollo's on or what the hell he's saying half the time. Aiden definitely has a bigger vocabulary than his father. The same scene, Phaedra talks to Apollo about the whole trip to Mexico, and she's saying that she doesn't feel comfortable with Apollo going and that she's thinking about taking Dwight. Apollo gets upset, like, you know, how you gonna say that I can't come and I'm your husband? You know, what kind of mess is that? And Phaedra's like, well, I don't want you to come because you don't know how to handle your liquor and your eyes up in Kenya's face, and I feel like she's a serpent and she's trying to tempt you. And Apollo's like, you know, I'm a grown man, I know how to handle my liquor. And you can just tell that their relationship to me is just null and void. She talks to him like he is her teenage son, and that is not her equal or her husband. She talks down to him, and it's like I said, he has a limited vocabulary, so he doesn't know how to express himself. He just gets angry. You know, my thing is, if your husband is that weak that he can get tempted by this so-called serpent named Kenya, then that is on your husband. Kenya can only put it out there, but that's on Apollo if he chooses to chase that forbidden fruit. You feel me? So I get tired of her constantly quoting all these Bible scriptures and all these Bible quotes and, you know, making it seem like all these other women are the devils and they all want her husband. But honey, your husband is no prize. Not only is he a thief, he's a liar who tricks off $8,000 in the club on strippers. So please don't act like you got Barack Obama standing next to you or Denzel Washington or somebody who's well-to-do. He's an ex-convict. Well, I'm gonna need you to step down from your high-ass horse. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Peter, and Peter is trying desperately, just like Marlo, to hold a damn peach next season. He wants to be in the opening credits right along with the rest of the ladies going like this. Because Peter decides to go and pay Mr. Cordell a visit at his mansion. He says that he's been calling Cordell for the past few weeks, but Cordell refuses to answer the phone, so he's just going to drop by with a camera crew mic'd up to go confront Cordell about his relationship with Porsha. So this whole situation was just crazy. But you know what? I honestly like Cordell. I feel like Cordell speaks a lot of truth, and at the end of the day, we don't really know what happened in their marriage, what happened to cause it, but Cordell is saying that he was just tired. He felt like Porsha was allowing her mother and her bitter relationships that didn't work to affect Porsha, and that he married her to be a housewife and to be a mother to his son, you know, and she agreed to that. But once she got in the Real Housewives, it's like her head kind of blew up. And he said 24/7 her family would be there. And then he had me cracking up. He said one day he walked into his master bedroom and Porsha's mama was sitting on his cream colored furniture with a large pepperoni pizza box on her lap, eating away in the master bedroom. Y'all, when he said that, I fell the hell out, because I can imagine Miss Diane chilling like a villain with a large-ass pizza box in her lap, eating like nobody's business. You know, and I agree with him. There has to be a level of respect, especially with the in-laws. You know, if you're going to come over there, you can't just overtake their space. There's no reason for anybody to be in anybody else's master bedroom without their consent. I do feel like he married Porsha and he expected certain things of her. And once she got this celebrity, it just couldn't work, and that's why they had to dissolve the marriage. But Cordell seemed to have handled himself, you know, classy. You know, he just spoke his feelings. He spoke his truth as he's solid. And Peter was taking all types of mental notes. It's like you could just see him squirming in his seat. He couldn't wait to fly to Mexico to go confront Porsha and spill the tea that he got from Cordell. Peter be acting like a straight up biatch sometimes. But it's all good. Moving on to the next scene. So the big day arrives. Viva la Mexico! So now they're in Mexico. You have Kenya, and she decides to bring Miss Lawrence. Hotel staff are going to the car to go greet them, and Miss Lawrence has an attitude because they're addressing him as a sir, you know, Mr. Lawrence. And she's like, you know what? I am not Miss Lawrence. I am Miss Lawrence, and you will address me as such. But he does not want people to address him as Mr. Lawrence. He only wants to be called Miss Lawrence. And as Kenya says, Miss Lawrence is anything but a man, honey. Y'all like my little snaps? Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have NeNe. She's the first one to arrive. NeNe's on that white people's time, and everybody else is on CP colored people's time. So NeNe's kind of irritated. Cynthia comes walking up, and she's like, you know what? Cynthia used to be the type that would be on time to everything, but I guess Cynthia's gotten very comfortable down in the South, and now she's starting to arrive late to things as well. Then Porsha comes waltzing up with her luggage, and of course she's by herself. She doesn't have her husband or anybody with her, but she's still going to go on the trip because Kenya is also single. And so now they're waiting for Candy, and Candy is nowhere to be found. Candy has to be the most late person I've ever seen in the history of television. Candy is late to everything. Candy is late to every single thing that these women plan. It's so funny. So Candy has to be the most late person I've ever seen in the history of television. Candy's late to every single thing that these women plan. It's so funny. So they're waiting for Candy, and while they're waiting, they're talking about the whole situation with Phaedra, and Phaedra's saying that she's not going to be able to make it with them at the same time because she supposedly can't find her passport. But NeNe puts it on blast in the confessional. She's like, you know what? Y'all know damn well Phaedra did not forget her passport. She's trying to hold off to see what kind of fuckery that Kenya has planned for everybody. So Phaedra's going to be calling in, checking in with the girls. I definitely agree with NeNe on that part. I do feel like Phaedra kind of fell back so she can kind of see what's going on and what Kenya has planned as opposed to losing her passport. Girl, bye. We're not believing that lie, honey. We know you're trying to get the tea before you and Apollo get on that plane. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, they've all flown to Mexico and they're on the limousine. And Porsha, Miss, I got really nice silky baby hairs because I'm half Mexican. Girl, I'm going to need you to sit all the way down. Now, we understand that your grandfather's name was Hosea Williams, but just because his name is Hosea Williams does not make him a Mexican. And for her to say that the reason why her baby hairs are so silky is because she's half Mexican, she sounded like a damn fool to me. I get so tired of black folks trying to claim everything but black. Look, I have baby hairs too, and guess what? I'm full African. So what, baby hairs are synonymous to people who are biracial or people who have Mexican in them? I mean, Chili, like I said on Twitter, is the queen of baby hairs. Chili has some beautiful hair. I love her baby hairs. I've always loved her baby hairs. And you will never hear Chili brag about her having Indian in her. Chili has always claimed herself to be a black woman. And it's always funny, the ones who look black, who don't look like they have a drop of anything in them, are the first ones to claim every other race but black. Porsha, stop. We all know you're black. Stop trying to claim a little Mexican that you may have in you. It's not that damn serious. On the next scene, Peter and everybody else, everybody's in the limo. They've all arrived in Mexico. Now they're being driven to the hotel, and Peter decides in front of everybody to tell Porsha that he decided to pay Cordell a visit, and that he went to go talk to Cordell, and Cordell's side of the story is totally different from Porsha's side of the story. And everybody's looking at Peter like, really? Why are you confronting this woman about her ex-husband? Why are you being so messy? And Porsha's just, you know, you can tell she's uncomfortable. She really doesn't want to talk about it. And she feels like, you know, why is Peter so in her business? You know, first Peter had her back and Peter was team Porsha. Now he's team Cordell. And Peter's like, you know what? I need to get it from the horse's mouth. I can't just listen to your side of the story because I know how women are. I want to get his side of the story as well. And the whole situation is just getting messier and messier. But Porsha decides to just keep quiet and not say anything else. And then they finally arrive at their destination, which is at the hotel. Moving on to the next scene. So as they arrive to the hotel, Kenya's getting ready, and she's basically looking at herself and she's saying, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the shadiest of them all? Me, Kenya Moore. And I'm sitting here like, bitch, really? You're proud to be a shady woman? You're proud to throw shade 24/7? Ma'am, that's not a good character trait. I'm gonna need you to do better and stop bragging like that's something to be proud of. Basically, she's talking about being shady towards NeNe now that she has that tidbit from Marlo about how NeNe did not want anybody to be friends with Kenya. So Kenya's gonna take this opportunity to be shady towards everybody. So now everybody arrives at the hotel, and Kenya's down there, and she's literally in this white bikini, and she has on this poncho, and she's just twirling and twirling and twirling. And everybody's looking at her like, bitch, really? You couldn't just greet us with a simple hello? You have to twirl in a bikini? And Candy's looking at Kenya like, you are doing too much right now. You need to really stop twirling. So I'm just sitting here laughing. So now they all walk into the hotel lobby, and Kenya's like, I have a surprise for everybody. And everybody's waiting to see her African prince. Everybody just knows she done planned this couples retreat. We're all about to see her African prince. So we're all waiting. The music is getting intense. The suspense is killing us. And all of a sudden, Miss Lawrence comes waltzing out in 6-inch heels, and he starts twirling too and shit with a damn Mexican mustache. And Porsha's like, the fuck is this shit? You know, we thought we were going to see her African prince. Is he invisible? Where's her African prince when she put together a couples trip? Kenya Moore is such a mess. Anyways, moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, they all go up to the hotel room, and Kenya tells NeNe that she has a surprise for NeNe and Greg, that she's going to give NeNe a presidential suite because people blamed her for the whole, you know, issue that happened at the hotel. And she's like, me and you are both going to be presidents. And NeNe's like, no, bitch, you're vice president, I'm president. And Kenya's like, no, we're both presidents. And NeNe's like, once again, bitch, you're vice president, I'm president. I'm like, NeNe is such a mess. But the room that her and Greg got was just beautiful. They had their own little pool and, you know, cabana, which is really, really gorgeous. And then all of a sudden, Greg jumps on the bed. He gets on all fours and he starts humping the bed. And I'm just like, Greg, stop. Sir, just stop. You're too damn old for this foolishness. I mean, we understand you got on some red bottoms, but I'm going to need you to calm the hell down. We didn't need to see what you was going to do to NeNe later on that night, sir. Stop. Moving on to the next scene. So the next scene is finally the evening time, and everybody's ready for dinner, and everybody's coming down to dinner, and everybody looks gorgeous, and Miss Southern Belle, Porsha, comes twirling in there. I love Porsha's shape. She just has a beautiful shaped body. So she comes, and she's wearing this fabulous dress, and Miss Lawrence calls her the sexy sex kitten of the South. And so there's a twist, though. None of the couples can sit next to each other. Kenya split everybody up because she has no man. So she's making all the couples sit separately. So Peter's sitting next to Kenya, and Kenya's like, I hope Cynthia's not jealous of my beauty, as if to say that Kenya can steal Peter away from Cynthia. Kenya, you are very shady and messy. So Greg is sitting next to Candy, and Greg is feeling on Candy and touching her, and they're like, Greg, keep your hands to yourself. And he announces to the world that he's the king of the bedroom, and nobody cares, and nobody wants to envision Greg being the king of anything, let alone the bedroom. So Todd is sitting next to Cynthia, and Porsha comes in and she sits next to, I think she's sitting next to Miss Lawrence. So the whole situation is funny. They're all, split up. And then out the blue, here comes Phaedra and Apollo. They just arrived just in time for the fuckery. So Phaedra comes in and she's looking really, really cute, and Apollo comes in looking all handsome, but she's throwing shots in her confessional. And she's saying, yes, she decided to arrive. She bought her husband, unlike the rest of these hoes who aren't married. Once again, Phaedra, I'm going to need you not to throw so many shots at folks who are not married. Just because you're married doesn't mean anything. You can be married and still be in a miserable relationship, as you and Apollo have proven to the rest of their audience, okay? So I love the fact that she keeps trying to throw her marriage in everybody's face as if, once again, Apollo is Barack Obama or some well-to-do man. Your husband is an ex-criminal. Quit talking about him. Quit bragging about being married. Quit trying to throw shots at the other women who aren't married. Basically, have another tall glass of shut the fuck up, Phaedra. Thank you. Moving on to the next thing. So while they're all sitting down to dinner, Greg decides to ask Porsha, does she really think it's over? Or does she think that her and Cordell could possibly work it out? Because he says him and NeNe were able to work it out. They were able to come together. Maybe there's still hope for their relationship. And once again, Porsha is just, feeling kind of upset. Like, okay, first Peter, now Greg is coming at me with this whole thing with Cordell. And Peter's like, well, Cordell told me that he still loves you and he still wants to be with you. He just can't deal with this whole situation with the outsiders and how everything, came to be. And Todd is also questioning her, like, do you think that you're really done? Do you think you're really over him? And you can tell Porsha's uncomfortable. Instead of sipping Phaedra's nice tall glass of shut the fuck up, Porsha decides to run her mouth and explain herself to these people when it's none of their business. At the end of the day, things happen in marriages. People get separated. People get divorced. It's nobody's business. But what I will say is this. Unlike how Porsha is also trying to play the victim, like, I would never throw shots at Cordell, and I don't believe in being messy, but all season you were throwing shots at this man. You insinuated that the man put his hands on you. You insinuated that he stole Candy's anal balls from you, and that supposedly he might be using them. You've insinuated a lot of things throughout this season, riding on this whole Cordell divorce situation. So, of course, people are going to have questions. Of course, people are going to have assumptions and things like that. She put it out there, and now the rest of the cast are running with it. Is it okay? No, it's not. But she has to remember, she put it out there. She was the one telling their business, speaking from her point of view in the marriage. Asking all these questions, Kenya jumps in and she's like, I just don't understand it. Every scene seems so perfect. I thought you were supposed to be, his living doll and all this other stuff. Porsha then says that they were having some financial difficulties, and that's why she felt the need to come onto the Real Housewives. She didn't just want to, just sit there and be pretty and be a gold digger. She felt like, she had to make her own way. Then in the confessional, Cynthia's like, well, damn, who knew that Cordell had financial problems? Porsha's story isn't adding up. It's not making any sense. That's fine, Cynthia. It doesn't have to add up or make any sense. You make sure that you worry about your relationship with Peter and make sure that he doesn't run your marriage into the ground, because right now, bar one and everybody else is suing him. Worry about y'all's relationship and stay the hell up out of Porsha and Cordell. This table has issues in their relationship that they all need to work on, but yet and still everybody's so focused on Porsha and Cordell's situation, which I just find comical. So then Porsha then goes on to say that basically she told Cordell that she would be that main front for him because of all these rumors that plagued him. She would show everybody that he was not gay and that, he was a loving husband and everything else. And so Kenya's like, so you're basically saying that you were trying to be his beard. You was trying to, basically put on a facade for the world so that way people wouldn't assume things about him. And the whole conversation just gets messier and messier. And finally, Porsha just gets upset. And she's like, I'm done talking about it. And then Greg chimes in and says, you know what? That was their relationship. They know the relationship better than any of us. And Candy starts to say her piece, because she feels like it's not right that everybody's jumping on Porsha. And, of course, Kenya cuts out Candy and just changes the subject. So the whole dinner was just really, really intense and was really uncomfortable watching. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens next week. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Don't forget to follow me. I am @LovelyT on Twitter. All right. Deuces.